Genesis, chapters 41 and 42. And it came to pass after 2 full years that Pharaoh had a dream. He thought he stood upon the bank of the river, and lo, there came up as it were out of the river 7 cows, fair in appearance, and choice of flesh, and they fed on the sedge. And other 7 cows came up after these out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and fed by the other cows on the bank of the river. And the 7 ill-favored and lean cows devoured the 7 well-favored and choice-fleshed cows. And Pharaoh awoke. And he dreamed again, and behold, 7 ears came up of one stalk, choice and good. And behold, 7 ears, thin and blasted with the wind, grew up after them. And the 7 thin ears, and blasted with the wind, devoured the 7 choice and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and it was a dream. And it was morning, and his soul was troubled. And he sent and called all the interpreters of Egypt, and all her wise men. And Pharaoh related to them his dream, and there was no one to interpret it to Pharaoh. And the chief cupbearer spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I this day remember my fault. Pharaoh was angry with his servants, and put us in prison in the house of the captain of the guard, both me and the chief baker. And we had a dream both in one night, I and he. We saw each according to his dream. And there was there with us a young man, a Hebrew servant of the captain of the guard, and related to him our dreams, and he interpreted them to us. And it came to pass, as he interpreted them to us, so also it happened, both that I was restored to my office, and that he was hanged. And Pharaoh, having sent, called Joseph, and they brought him out of the prison, and shaved him, and changed his dress, and he came to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have seen a vision, and there is no one to interpret it. But I have heard saying concerning thee, that thou didst hear dreams, and interpret them. And Joseph answered Pharaoh and said, Without God, answer of safety shall not be given to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, saying, In my dream, methought I stood by the bank of the river, and there came up as it were of the river 7 cows, well-favored and choice-fleshed, and they fed on the sedge. And behold, 7 other cows came up after them out of the river, evil and ill-favored and lean-fleshed, such that I never saw worse in all the land of Egypt. And the 7 ill-favored and thin cows ate up the 7 first good and choice cows. And they were into their bellies, and it was not perceptible that they had gone into their bellies. Their appearance was ill-favored, as also at the beginning. And after I awoke, I slept, and saw again in my sleep, as it were 7 ears came up from one stem, full and good. And other 7 ears, thin and blasted with the wind, sprang up close to them. And the 7 thin and blasted ears devoured the 7 fine and full ears. So I spoke to the interpreters, and there was no one to explain it to me. And Joseph said to Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. Whatever God does, he has shown to Pharaoh. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream of Pharaoh is one. And the 7 thin kind that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 thin and blasted ears are 7 years. There shall be 7 years of famine. And as for the word which I have told Pharaoh, whatsoever God intends to do, he has shown to Pharaoh. Behold, for 7 years there is coming great plenty in all the land of Egypt. But there shall come 7 years of famine after these, and they shall forget the plenty that shall be in all Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of the famine that shall be after this, for it shall be very grievous. And concerning the repetition of the dream to Pharaoh twice, it is because the saying which is from God shall be true, and God will hasten to accomplish it. Now then, look out a wise and prudent man, and set him over the land of Egypt. And let Pharaoh make and appoint local governors over the land, and let them take up a 5th part of all produce of the land of Egypt for the 7 years of the plenty. And let them gather all the food of these 7 good years that are coming, and let there be corn gathered under the hand of Pharaoh. Let food be kept in the cities, and the stored food shall be for the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, and the land shall not be utterly destroyed by the famine. And the word was pleasing in the sight of Pharaoh, and in the sight of all his servants. And Pharaoh said to all his servants, Shall we find the man as this, who has the Spirit of God in him? And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Since God has showed thee all these things, there is not a wiser or more prudent man than thou. Thou shalt be over my house, and all my people shall be obedient to thy word. Only in the throne will I excel thee. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Behold, I set thee this day over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took his ring off his hand, and put it in the hand of Joseph, and put on him a robe of fine linen, and put a necklace of gold about his neck. And he mounted him on the second of his chariots, and a herald made proclamation before him, and he set him over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh. Without thee, no one shall lift up his hand on all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called the name of Joseph Santhophanek, and he gave him Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of Heliopolis, to wife. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh, and went through all the land of Egypt. And the land produced in the 7 years of plenty whole handfuls of corn. And he gathered all the food of the 7 years, which was the plenty of the land of Egypt. And he laid up the food in the cities, the food of the fields, of a city round about it, and he laid up in it. And Joseph gathered very much corn as the sand of the sea, until it could not be numbered, for there was no number of it. And to Joseph were born 2 sons, before the 7 years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of Heliopolis, bore to him. And Joseph called the name of his firstborn Manasseh. For God, said he, has made me forget all my toils, and all my father's house. And he called the name of the second Ephraim. For God, said he, has increased me in the land of my humiliation. And the 7 years of plenty passed away, which were in the land of Egypt. And the 7 years of famine began to come, as Joseph said. And there was a famine in all the land, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And all the land of Egypt was hungry, and the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, Go to Joseph, and do whatsoever he shall tell you. And the famine was on the face of all the earth. And Joseph opened all the granaries, and sold to all the Egyptians. And all countries came to Egypt to buy of Joseph, for the famine prevailed in all the earth. And Jacob, having seen that there was a sale of corn in Egypt, said to his sons, Why are ye indolent? Behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Go down thither, and buy for us a little food, that we may live and not die. And the 10 brethren of Joseph went down to buy corn out of Egypt. But Jacob sent not Benjamin, the brother of Joseph, with his brethren, for he said, Lest haply disease befall him. And the sons of Israel came to buy with those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was ruler of the land. He sold to all the people of the land. And the brethren of Joseph, having come, did reverence to him, bowing with the face to the ground. When Joseph saw his brethren, he knew them, and estranged himself from them, and spoke hard words to them, and said to them, Whence are ye come? And they said, Out of the land of Canaan, to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. And Joseph remembered his dream, which he saw, and he said to them, Ye are spies, to observe the marks of the land are ye come. But they said, Nay, sir, we thy servants are come to buy food. We are all sons of one man. We are peaceable. Thy servants are not spies. And he said to them, Nay, but ye are come to observe the marks of the land. And they said, We thy servants are 12 brethren in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is with our father today, but the other one is not. And Joseph said to them, This is it that I spoke to you, saying ye are spies. Herein shall ye be manifested. By the health of Pharaoh, ye shall not depart hence, unless your younger brother come hither. Send one of you, and take your brother, and go ye to prison, till your words be clear, whether ye speak the truth or not. But if not, by the health of Pharaoh, verily ye are spies. And he put them in prison 3 days. And he said to them on the 3rd day, This do, and ye shall live, for I fear God. If ye be peaceable, let one of your brethren be detained in prison. But go ye, and carry back the corn ye have purchased. And bring your younger brother to me, and your word shall be believed. But if not, ye shall die. And they did so. And each said to his brother, Yes, indeed, for we are in fault concerning our brother, when we disregard the anguish of his soul, when he besought us, and we hearkened not to him. And therefore has this affliction come upon us. And Reuben answered them, saying, Did I not speak to you, saying, Hurt not the boy, and ye heard me not? And behold, his blood is required. But they knew not that Joseph understood them, for there was an interpreter between them. And Joseph turned away from them, and wept. And again he came to them, and spoke to them. And he took Simeon from them, and bound him before their eyes. And Joseph gave orders to fill their vessels with corn, and to return their money to each into his sack, and to give them provision for the way. And it was done so to them. Having put the corn on the asses, they departed thence. And one, having opened his sack to give his asses fodder at the place where they rested, saw also his bundle of money, for it was on the mouth of his sack. He said to his brethren, My money has been restored to me, and behold, this is in my sack. And their heart was wonderstruck, and they were troubled, saying to one another, What is this that God has done to us? And they came to their father Jacob into the land of Canaan, and reported to him all that had happened to them, saying, The man, the Lord of the land, spoke harsh words to us, and put us in prison as spies of the land. And we said to him, We are men of peace, we are not spies. We are 12 brethren, sons of our father. One is not, and the youngest is with his father today in the land of Canaan. And the man, the Lord of the land, said to us, Herein shall I know that ye are peaceable. Leave one brother here with me, and having taken the corn ye have purchased for your family, depart. And bring to me your younger brother. Then I shall know that ye are not spies, but that ye are men of peace. I will restore you your brother, and ye shall trade in the land. And it came to pass, as they were emptying their sacks, there was each man's bundle of money in his sack. And they and their father saw their bundles of money, and they were afraid. Their father Jacob said to them, Ye have bereaved me. Joseph is not, Simeon is not, and will ye take Benjamin? All these things have come upon me. And Reuben spoke to his father, saying, Slay my 2 sons, if I bring him not to thee. Give him into my hand, and I will bring him back to thee. But he said, My son shall not go down with you, because his brother is dead, and only he has been left. And suppose it shall come to pass that he is afflicted by the way by which ye go, then ye shall bring down my old age with sorrow to Hades. Psalm 17, 18 in Hebrew, verses 32 through 50. It is God that girds me with strength, and has made my way blameless, who strengthens my feet as hart's feet, and sets me upon high places. He instructs my hands for war, and thou hast made my arms as a brazen bow. And thou hast made me secure in my salvation, and thy right hand has helped me, and thy correction has upheld me to the end. Yea, thy correction itself shall instruct me. Thou hast made room for my goings under me, and my footsteps did not fail. I will pursue mine enemies and overtake them, and I will not turn back until they are consumed. I will dash them to pieces, and they shall not be able to stand. They shall fall under my feet, for thou hast girded me with strength for war. Thou hast beaten down under me all that rose up against me. And thou hast made mine enemies turn their backs before me, and thou hast destroyed them that hated me. They cried, but there was no deliverer, even to the Lord, but he hearkened not to them. I will grind them as the mud on the streets, and I will beat them small as dust before the wind. Deliver me from the gainsayings of the people. Thou shalt make me head of the Gentiles. A people whom I knew not served me. At the hearing of the ear they obeyed me. The strange children lied to me. The strange children waxed old, and fell away from their paths through lameness. The Lord lives, and blessed be my God. And let the God of my salvation be exalted. It is God that avenges me, and has subdued the nations under me. My deliverer from angry enemies. Thou shalt set me on high above them that rise up against me. Thou shalt deliver me from the unrighteous man. Therefore will I confess to thee, O Lord, among the Gentiles, and sing to thy name. God magnifies the deliverances of his king, and deals mercifully with David his anointed, and his seed, forever. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 16 through 20. For length of existence and years of life are in her right hand. In her left hand are wealth and glory. Out of her mouth proceeds righteousness, and she carries law and mercy upon her tongue. Her ways are good ways, and all her paths are peaceful. She is a tree of life to all that lay hold upon her, and she is a secure help to all that stay themselves on her, as on the Lord. God by wisdom founded the earth, and by prudence he prepared the heavens. By understanding were the depths broken up, and the clouds dropped water. The Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 10, verses 24 through 42. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of this household? Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing? And one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear ye not therefore, ye are of more value than many sparrows. Whosoever shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. He that receiveth you receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me. He that receiveth a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward, and he that receiveth a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. And whosoever shall give to drink unto one of these little ones a cup of cold water, only in the name of the disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward.